cannabis cafes, expanded outdoor drinking, an end to a banking fee. These are among the roughly 1,000 new laws hitting California in January. The state is allowing more on-street alcohol sales and food in cannabis lounges. Supporters say the laws will increase Central City foot traffic, which has yet to fully recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. One issue receiving a great deal of attention from lawmakers involves retail theft, specifically smash and grab. New laws allow for stricter penalties, including one creating sentencing enhancements for selling stolen property valued at $50,000 or more. Another law increases penalties for car break-ins and auto theft. It also creates a new crime for possessing stolen property taken during a vehicle theft or unlawful entry of a car. Californians who try to withdraw money but don't have enough in their bank accounts won't fall deeper into a financial hole from having to pay a fine thanks to a new state law. The law covers instances in which banks charge customers when their withdrawals are declined instantaneously, such as at ATMs, because of insufficient funds. Assembly Bill 2017 applies to banks and credit unions that are regulated by the state. Proponents call penalties for insufficient funds junk fees and say getting rid of them will protect financially vulnerable consumers. In another consumer protection measure, businesses that defraud consumers sometimes pay a couple of $1,000s in civil penalties under current California law, or they will be ordered to pay millions of dollars but then close down or declare bankruptcy, leaving their victims without compensation. This new law will help change that. It will establish a restitution fund in the state treasury that can be used to try to fully reimburse consumers. Assembly Bill 1366 will let the state attorney general pursue disgorgement or repayment of ill-gotten gains in cases where companies violate unfair competition or false advertising laws. The money recovered would go into the new fund. The new year is shaping up to be a confusing one for Californians unlucky enough to buy a new or used car that turns out to be a clunker. As of the first of the year, car buyers who purchase a faulty vehicle will have to navigate a new version of the state's lemon law that for 5 decades has given consumers the right to demand car companies fix or replace defective vehicles they sell. That is, unless lawmakers quickly pass a law that allows some of the car companies to opt out of the new requirements. The confusion stems from a law the governor signed in September after the bill was hastily jammed through the legislature in the waning days of the session following secret negotiations between lobbyists. The governor said it was important to address the problem of California's courts getting clogged with lemon law cases, even as critics said the bill significantly watered down consumer protections. The governor said he signed it only after lawmakers said they'd introduce legislation to make the reforms voluntary for automakers, legislation lawmakers say they've already introduced. But now it's anyone's guess how long it'll take the bill to make it through the Senate and the Assembly and get the governor's signature. California has become the latest battleground over voter identification requirements, a long-time conservative priority newly propelled in recent years by complaints of election fraud. Under a state law that takes effect in January, local governments across California will be prohibited from compelling voters to present identification to cast a ballot in an election. Democrats resist ID requirements, which they argue disenfranchise young, low-income, disabled, and non-white voters without providing any real benefit because they believe there is not widespread election fraud. Supporters of mandatory voter identification believe it addresses growing public concerns about election integrity. New laws dealing with stiffer penalties for human traffickers and forced outings for school students. Topics on our next edition of your High Desert Metro News. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm Terry Kurtz.